So let us see what we can do. Last week, I think we look at the strategic nature of HR. And most of the things we discuss shows that if the organization has to develop a strategy, must have in mind that HR also has a strategy that indeed links up to that strategy so that the organization will be productive, to be successful, and to be profitable, and so on and so forth. Today, we want to look at something that is so unique to the running of organizations and the role of HR, and look at some metrics like the balance scorecard, the objectives and resource areas, and see how, and the strategy map or strategy map framework, and see how those things also support organizations to remain relevant. And so we're looking at organizational effectiveness, performance, and measurement. And our focus is actually on balance scorecard and how to we measure what you call return on investment in training. We are so interested in how should organization either after performance appraisal or before performance appraisal or before induction or orientation, the new employee is taken through training. And I think in our previous study, we look at training, the various ways that HR must conduct training. We look at its effect and all that. But we are interested in how the return on training. And these are the learning outcomes that we'll be looking at, that how to diagnose and improve organizational effectiveness, how to analyze organizational data that we can use to measure balance scorecard, key performance indicators, and objective key results. Evaluate the strategic value of HR analytics and how improve workforce performance, decision-making, organizational outcomes, and use data driven performance management systems. And it's the same thing here. Now, HR, as we have said, is the best is the one that is HR driven. So organizations that are HR driven, and statistics tells us that, in fact, statistics shows that, empirical studies shows that the telcos who are HR driven are doing very well. They are doing very well. So how should HR measure data? And what data are we talking about? So we want to understand that analyzing HR and organizational data is very important because it helps us to use structured performance frameworks that help us to understand how people are managed, or that aligns to how people are managed within the organization to achieve its strategic objectives. Now, it's been said that are widely used, three frameworks are widely used. One is the balance scorecard. And the second is key performance indicator, which I'm sure you are very much familiar, because organizations ask employees to set key performance areas that are measurable, and then objectives and key results. Now, each framework, these three frameworks that we are going to look at, each framework is very important because it helps the organization to see in different lenses how to analyze organizational performance. Please, organizational performance and HR contributions. Please take note of these two things. The widely used frameworks do certain things. They are there for certain purpose. And one of the purpose is that it helps the organization to know how it is performing, the organization first, and the performance of the organization vis-a-vis HR contribution. Please take note, the three frameworks. So we want to understand something called managing corporate performance with balanced scorecard. Managing corporate performance. So we are looking at HR. However, HR does not stand alone. HR is a part of the organization and the other functions and whatever the organization it stands for. So we want to understand performance because we have just said that these widely frameworks, the balanced scorecard, the key performance indicators, objectives and key results, helps the organization to look at how it is performing, whether it's being profitable, is it productive, or is it deteriorating, or is not making money and all that. And then our interest, you and I, our interest is the HR contributions. So we first want to look at what is managing corporate performance with balanced scorecard. The content is what is corporate performance scorecard. We'll look at strategy framework, the 4 perspectives. When we talk about balanced scorecard, we identify key performance indicators and strategy mapping, corporate functions, and so on. We'll look at a lot. So what is corporate performance management? Corporate performance scorecard or management. Now, the corporate performance scorecard is seen as a strategic management tool. So the company use a corporate, so the entire corporate to put together. When I talk of corporate, I'm just talking about the company or the organization put together, uses a strategic management tool called corporate performance scorecard to assess or evaluate the entire organization's performance. However, there's a caveat here. Now, when they are assessing the entire organization's performance, they will look at the financials as well as the non-financial metrics, financial and non-financial measures, financial and non-financial issues. So the balanced corporate performance scorecard is not only assessing the financial component of the organization performance, however, the non-financial metrics are also assessed to ensure that they are in line with the strategic goals that were set. Last week, we looked at strategy, the various types and all that, the corporate, the business or the competitive business units. We look at the functional units, and we even said that some organizations, they also have, or some texts will talk about operational strategies. Now, it provides a comprehensive view of organizational performance, and it helps them to make decisions. This is Campbell and Norton, 1996. Now look at this framework. Already we have talked about performance management and performance appraisal. We said performance management is the bigger. But what we are saying again is that this performance management framework stems from something, stems from the vision, the mission, and strategy of the organization. And it's able to provide what you call strategy map. We'll look at strategy map. We'll look at few performance indicators, which all of them feeds into how we identify, how we measure, how we define, how we monitor and report a company's strategy. Again, the performance management has a component. It has a component. It doesn't stand alone. And there are 3 critical components for effective process of performance management. One is that performance management itself, it's always a continuous process. It's very consistent. Organizations don't do performance appraisal, or they don't do the management once and leave it. It's a continuous one. So the process is one continuous. But then, what does it measure? The performance management measures the infrastructure. What kind of systems are there? It looks at the culture of the organization. But interestingly, the performance infrastructure, management infrastructure is looking at this logistics support and how the HR or the company's administration supports its performance management. So logistics could be the portal. If it's not using a portal, maybe pen and paper, whatever they are using to ensure that performance management is carried out for the entire organization. Now, the culture is the sentiment, how the organization, people, the members look at performance management. And we are saying that these are the components. The process is one, the infrastructure is one, and the culture. And the culture that is based on performance accountability. So how people look at performance management in the organization. Now, what are the key features of a corporate performance scorecard? So look at the totality in terms of the organization. We're still talking about the organization. And after a while, we'll zoom into HR's contribution. Now, organizations have corporate performance scorecard because it serves certain purpose. One of it is that one key features is that there's a balanced measurement. What is balanced measurement? You are assessing the entire organization, what the organization does. But then the assessment should not leave out others. So if you are assessing the organization to know its performance, then it must take the totality of everything. So the corporate performance scorecard has some financial metrics. You know, organizations look at how much we are getting profit, our cash flow, how much we are spending, expenditure, income, and all that, such as whether they are profitable with non-financial indicators like we are profitable, our customers also happy with our service. What kind of innovation do we bring? So the corporate performance scorecard assesses balanced measurements. So what you are assessing is balanced. It is not skewed. It's not skewed to one area. When you study strategy research, they will talk to you about skewed. Something is the skewedness of something is skewed towards one area. So the measurement or the assessment is not skewed towards only financials. However, you assess the totality of all that the organization does. So if it's, let's say, GCT, or if it's, say, MTN, you are assessing the processes, you're assessing the products they sell, you're assessing how the customers feel about their products, you're assessing feedback, you're assessing what makes them profitable, what may give them the competitive, you're assessing everything. That's why we say you're assessing financials and non-financials, how our customers have been looking at our programs and all that. Again, another feature is that strategic alignment. Don't forget, our earlier suggestions talked about the fact that the organization has a strategy. The strategy brings out its plan, which becomes the blueprint of how the organization wants to see itself, the direction it's going. Last time we talked about sometimes the corporate strategy as having a diversification or whatever. All those things as growth, profitability, those things are set up by the organization. So the strategy is there. It's how we are going, how we are moving. So the corporate performance scorecard also ensures that the operational activities that are done in the organization are actually linked to the long-term objectives, which is the strategy. It also has multi-dimensional focus. The scorecard, the corporate performance scorecard, also evaluates performance across key areas, which includes the financial performance, the customer perspective, internal processes, learning, and growth. In fact, these four that I've mentioned is what it's measured so far as the study of performance scorecard is all about. So don't get confused. So financial performance is the revenue growth, cost efficiency, customer perspective, look at how customers you're able to retain your customers and they are satisfied and so on. Internal processes look at your operational efficiency, innovation, and quality. Learning and growth looks at how employees are developed and their knowledge that they bring to bear. Now, what we are studying today, we are going to look at how these four, which of them, these four, how are these four carried out in the HR sector? What are the key things HR also look at? Because this is the entire thing, but then what are the key features HR also look at to do this measurement? We'll look at them. Again, performance management is a cycle. The organizational strategy sets its measures and targets, and they plan and execute it, they monitor and evaluate it, and they reward and when necessary. So we want to understand again, what is the corporate performance scorecard and the balance scorecard? What is there any relationship between them? What is associated with them? How is the corporate performance, which is the broader one, how is it associated with the balance scorecard, which most of us are known to be to assess HR issues and all that? Now, the framework emphasizes the importance of how we link financial metrics, the same thing we said, with other perspectives like customer satisfaction, internal process, organizational, and it was said previously. Now, what are the benefits and application of this corporate performance scorecard? It helps the organization to adopt a holistic view of performance, helps you to identify gaps when they are implementing their strategy and when they are directed by data to take decisions. Again, it also promotes accountability and transparency when they are aligning the departmental goals, so the business, competitive business units, with that of the corporate strategy. Again, it's a widely applied in strategic planning and corporate governance to ensure that businesses adapt to changing marketing dynamics, and also helps them to achieve sustainable growth. So managing performance with balanced scorecard, we have said it's a strategic management tool, which also provides stakeholders with how to measure how the organization is progressing towards achieving its goal. Now, we have already talked about the four. Your understanding should be on that four: the financial, the internal processes, the learning and the development, let me say it well, the financial, the customer, the learning and growth, and the internal processes. So how are we able to balance financial and non-financial measures? How are we able to balance short and long-term measures? How are we able to balance performance drivers, that is the key performance indicators, and those things that are lacking? How are we able to lead to focus on organizational alignment? Now, the balance scorecard, again, does something. If you look at it from this perspective, this diagram is rather talking about how learning and growth feeds into internal perspective, it feeds into customer perspective, and it feeds into financial perspective, which gives the strategy of the organization. Let's see what they are talking about. Learning and growth perspective look at how to achieve our vision, how we must, our organization, learn to and improve. So it's about the learning and growth. We have to measure how we are learning, how people learn, the type of knowledge we are acquiring and grow. The internal perspectives look at how we are able to satisfy our customers, how our processes are seamless so that we are able to excel. Customer perspective, how to achieve our vision, how we must look at our customers. And if everything goes on well, how we succeed, how we look at our shareholders and probably give them dividend and all that. So what does it measure? We are going to measure this for. And what I want you to understand again is that this is for the entire organization. This is what it will measure. We already look at some, but then we will translate these 4 factors and look at how HR also measures itself, because we said earlier that it measures organizational performance and HR contribution. So when we are measuring the entire thing, we are measuring financial performance like our revenue, our profitability, cost management. We ensure that we achieve our financial objectives. The finance people will tell you. Our customer perspective, how customers are satisfied, we're able to retain them. We said it. How we are able to maintain our market share, how we assess how well the organization meets its customer needs. An internal process perspective, we look at our operational efficiency. That's one word that when you study strategic management, they teach you. They teach you operational efficiency. Every organization strives for operational efficiencies, but then they are not strategies. They are things that what we call the best practices. Every organization tries to have best practices or operational efficiencies, how they innovate, bring in new ideas, how they improve, continuous improvement, quality improvement. So we hear total quality management with core business processes. And then learning and growth perspective, the organization monitors how employees are trained, the kind of organizational culture that is sustainable, how people are managing knowledge, and to ensure that there's future growth and adaptability. So let's look at practicality of what we are talking about. What we are saying is that the balanced scorecard links organizational strategy with measurable outcomes across 4 perspectives. So let's take financial perspective. So how shall HR, what is HR's role here? HR must examine how its contribution to financial outcomes. How is HR able to contribute the financial sustainability of the things we talk about here, like revenue, profitability, cost management, and all that? So how is HR's role? What data should HR use to do this analysis? One of the data is cost per hire. How much do we spend on hiring one person? Cost per hire. What is training, return on investment on training? Employee productivity per employee. When you compare two, let's say if you compare 2 lecturers, how do you see their productiveness? So in the organization, HR will be able to analyze this, the financial contribution of HR to its outcome, when they're able to assess the performances of 2 employees. Labor costs as a percentage of revenue, labor costs. So the data HR should be looking at for cost per hire. How much does it cost us to hire one person? What is the return on investment on training? Employee productivity per employee. When I assess 2 employees, or when I assess HR department, marketing department, the staff, finance department, the manufacturing department, the staff there, what do I see to be productive? Need to measure that, and labor costs. So example for the analysis that if training investment increases, assuming you spend so much to train people, but productivity does not improve, HR must develop programs that should be redesigned. So whatever HR is doing in doing this analysis, it means that HR's contribution is minimal because you are spending so much on training, but you are receiving little after productivity. Let's say that GCTU take all the distance learning lecturers for training. And after training, they tell us what to do, blah, 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 blah. And then we still come and we are underperforming. Then it means the training that was conducted for us was useless or it has not bear any fruits. So if training investment, how much you invest in training increases. But then, so we are spending 20,000. The training is increased to 30,000. But productivity is still low. Then what we are saying is that HR development programs may need to have a redesign. Let's look at it when we talk about customer and stakeholders perspective. So this also looks at how employees influence customer satisfaction and service quality. What data must HR look for? HR must look for data to analyze employee engagement scores. That is why we study highly engaged, highly disengaged, and all that. There are people, the way they work, you can see that they are not there for the organization, for the success of the organization. They care less about whether the organization will grow or will be profitable or will be productive, because they are not productive. That's why last time I told you about social loafing. They sit aloof. I told you to go and look for it. What is social loafing? They go and they sit on the fence. They are working for the organization, but they sit off the fence. Remember, I told you that they will tell you that the highly disengaged will tell you that the work is not for your father. Why are you worrying yourself like this? So if you see that people are working in the firm or the company, but some people such attitude, it's about engagement. So HR data must look for how to engage, how to assess it. But it's a very difficult thing. However, you're able to do it because it comes out, the outcome is their productivity. Customer satisfaction ratings, this one, you can use surveys or the feedback from your customers to know whether you're performing or not. Now, service delivery metrics. You must have, the companies do have measures. What measures service delivery? Now, in our country, online delivery has come to stay. Now, let's say that I'm hungry and I call Mr. Wu, a restaurant close by, to order food. I'm looking at it that maximum 20 minutes I should have it. Or they have written that their service delivery is prompt. They have to assess it, the feedback from people who know whether they are doing well or not. And then staff responsiveness are HR data that has to be analyzed to know whether the customer perspectives are being achieved. So low customer satisfaction, example, may correlate with low employee engagement levels. Of course, if you are dissatisfied, if you as customers or clients, you are dissatisfied, it means that my engagement with you is also low. That is the meaning. So if you go to some organizations or some retail shops and you see that some are very enthusiastic, supportive, you're looking for something, they want to go all around and assist you. There are some that will sit, they will just sit some at a corner and be using their left hand to direct you. Oh, just pass here, go, you can get it. You see these two staff, you can tell that some are not engaged. They don't care whether the company will make their customers happy or not. So that when it comes to customer perspective focus, low customer satisfaction has a relationship with low employee engagement. When we talk about internal business processes, this is HR's role. HR evaluates operational efficiency. I just told you that operational efficiencies has to be the best practices. Every organization has best practices, what they think they are doing well. When they don't have it, they benchmark what they do with their superior competitors or whatever. So the operational efficiency within HR and organizational process, that is what the internal perspective. But how is HR able to analyze it? What are the data that it analyzed? HR analyzes recruitment cycle time. How long does it take to recruit people? You know, the more you spend time, the more you spend money, the more you waste time. Employee turnover rate. How long does the person leaves the organization? Is it 6 months, 1 year, 2 years? And you know, you have to spend money again to recruit. Absenteeism rate. How many times do people absent themselves from the office? What is the performance appraisal completion rate? In my company, my organization, my university, every time I see HR coming up again, people should go and do the complete the appraisal, else they will not be paid and all that. So there should not be constant reminders because it's a very significant role in the life of employees and all that. So the internal business process perspective, the data HR looks out to analyze are the recruitment cycle time, employee turnover rate, absenteeism rate, and performance appraisal completion rate. And when there's high turnover in a department, certain department may indicate that leadership or the workload issues are so high or something. Let's look at the next one, which is the learning and growth perspective. The learning and growth perspective assess the organization's ability to develop employees and sustain innovation. So what kind of training, what kind of skills development, what kind of promotion internally, what makes people happy to be in the organization? So HR will look for data on training hours per employee. Sometimes if it's too long, it becomes boring. We all don't like long training. That's why it's because yours is so unique. For my normal class, I don't teach more than 3 hours. Even sometimes 3 hours too much. What I do is basically 2. What I do is basically 2 because as adult learners, I can see that you can't assimilate much after certain time, after certain hours. But the HR data to analyze training hours per employee, leadership development participation, skills development index, internal promotion rates. Now, low internal promotion rates may signal weak talent development pipelines. I think yesterday, it's not this class, and it is the other class. We talked about career paths. It's not, I don't think it's this class. When you are in an organization and there's no opportunity for growth, you will want to leave because you cannot mark time, and before you realize you are 60 years, you have to go on retirement. So these are the perspectives. So far, these are the HR contributions, and there are many more we will look at. So if you look at common KPIs, we see the KPI for employee turnover rate, meaning what percentage of employees are leaving. The insights or the knowledge there is that indicates retention challenges for HR. Time to hire, recruitment speed, shows efficiency in the hiring process. Employee engagement score, how committed are the employees? It also shows in their productivity. Absenteeism rates, some lost work days. If I don't come, you don't go to work, you've lost work days, and it indicates morale or health issues. Training effectiveness, performance after training, measure skills and development impacts. So the KPIs analysis shows that the turnover rate is equal to, let's say, go to 25%, while the industry average is 12%. So in the industry is made up of companies, different companies. Now, if in the industry rate, the entire industry rate shows that it has 12% average turnover rate, and then you as a company is making 25, HR must investigate causes such as poor compensation. This industry, let's say education industry, if you look at the statistics of people who are leaving, it's just about the entire industry, about 12%. Why is it that GCT is having about 25%? I'm just using that as an example. Then HR must investigate poor compensation or lack of career growth.
Like more or less than that commercial. So we like more or less investigate or it's more of less than shells. So the plan was to
Are you done? Are you done that we should hear you? And then poor leadership. Again, we talk about another tool called the key objectives, key results. But that one focuses on the goal alignment and measurable outcomes, whether you are measuring qualitative or whether you are measuring quantitative. And the objective could improve your employee engagement. So key results will be that we will increase engagement scores from 65% to 80%, reduce voluntary turnover from 80% to 10%, achieve 90% participation in leadership development programs. So HR reviews data quarterly to determine if key results are being achieved. If engagement rises but turnover remains high, compensation or career progression may be a problem. Now, if you study this, you see the technicality and the complexities of studying HR or being an HR manager or being an HR director or HR specialist. It's not a cheap course at all, as people think. People think that, oh, let me do HR. That one is just reading. It's more technical than probably accounting. Now, when we integrate the three frameworks, when we take balanced scorecard, its role in data analysis is strategic performance evaluation, but its focus is the entire organization. When we take KPIs, the focus is on its role is operational monitoring, but it's measuring specific things, metrics. When we talk about the objectives, key results, the role on data analysis is that there's a goal attainment and execution, but its focus is just on strategic initiative. So when we integrate these three, what we see is that balanced scorecard identifies employee development as a strategic priority. The objectives, key results also set improvement goals, helps to increase training and participation. And the KPIs also track organizational metrics, learning hours, and promotion rates. So practically, HR data analysis looks at how to collect data, HR data on recruitment, performance, engagement, training, and turnover. And then you look for data on all these, and you select KPIs that align the measures that you have, the metrics that you have with your balanced scorecard perspective. And you set your objectives. You can have that. How do you get it? You can visualize trends like dashboards. That is if your organization has a website that you can go there to get the data, or you can use HR analytics tools, or even quarterly reports from the various departments. And make strategic HR decisions about workforce training, planning, leadership development, and retention strategies. Now, it's 10 o'clock. What do we do? What do we do? What do we do, Omunkana Minko?
Hello, madam. Good morning.
Morning.
Okay, madam, please. I'm not drawing as bad, but it looks like the slides that you were speaking to before we got to the strategy and balance scorecard. I stand to be corrected, but then I think it's not part of the slides you gave us. So please, when you have that, is there a way we can have that slide?
Okay, I'll share with you. That is the
Thank you.
essence of coming to class.
Thank
If you
you.
don't come to class, you won't get all the details like that. Some people think, oh, they have the slides, so let me go and read. You see the important points I have raised without. Yes. Any other?
Please, we can stick to your plan. As you said, we should break and go and come back. That's my
Okay.
humble approach.
Do you agree?
Madam,
I have to
yeah.
come
Madam, we
again.
Yes,
agree.
accepted.
Yes,
Nothing
madam.
is great.
You are
We
what?
agree.
You agree?
Yeah,
We
I'm
agree.
agree.
not
Yes,
running to
madam.
campus. I'm
Fine.
not running to campus to teach another class, and then we'll continue. But this one will finish. I think we are 29 out of 54 slides. We are 29 out of 54 slides. And the major things is what we've talked about. So we will not have any problem. All
Okay,
right.
madam.
So we'll
All
still
right.
use the teams, I'm sure.
Yes, madam.
Okay. Okay. So
So please,
pardon me to go and hey, are you off?
We are here, madam. We are
Oh, yeah.
no,
listening.
Pardon me to go and
The
also
network.
the network is bad, eh?
Madam, not from your angle.
kind of.
Okay.
We can
Yes,
hear
please.
you.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time.